My Gavanan and well met. This is Araki Agala Jonathan, current head of Divide and Conquer, here to show you the first of a line of videos I hope to do, just giving you a little overview again of the features of certain factions, but this time each video is dedicated to an individual faction. And as you can see straight away from the start here, I'm starting with Gondor. This is all for DAC version 0.5. If you haven't seen that we've gone to 0.5, do have a look us up and download that and get that rolling. There's a couple of videos before this as well. One video just shows you how to install DAC 0.5, and the other two videos just give you a reasonably lengthy, unfortunately, because I was a little lapsed with the time, reasonably lengthy look at the new features of DAC 0.5. There's a video detailing the campaign, and there's a video detailing the battle maps. And they'll give you a broad overview, but the hope of these videos is to give you a few little hints and tips and bits of information about each faction, so that if you are unsure who you might want to play as, you can watch one of these videos, and it should give you a little bit of an idea of what you can expect if you play as that faction. So as I say, we will begin with Gondor, the southern realm of the descendants of Númenor, and the only surviving realm of the descendants of Númenor since the Northern Dunedain became roaming bands of warriors. Right, the first thing to notice when you start as Gondor that you don't get with most other factions is you have an incredibly large starting domain. As you can see me scrolling along here, it comes all the way from the west and the province of Andrast through Anulond, and it rides all the way to the east up to the borders of the Ered Lithui, the Ash Mountains, the border of Mordor. The large domain means that Gondor don't tend to have too much issue with money. So if you struggle to make money when you play Third Age games, Gondor might be a faction for you, because they get a lot of money due to their large starting regions. Additionally, not only do they have a large starting region, but they have quite a few high-end towns that start the game. Pelargir, for example, begins the game as a city, meaning it only has one more level of upgrades before that's maxed out. Minas Tirith, the both Osgiliaths, Caer Andros, Henneth and Nun are all very large cities, so the money, as you can see already, Minas Tirith is already making 1,600 at the start of the game. So it is very, very easy to make money with Gondor. However, it is useful that it's easy to make money with Gondor because you are attacked almost immediately by the realm of Mordor, the shadow of Mordor as they are called, coming at you from their very protected heartlands and pushing out west. So if you play as Gondor, you can expect a very heavy attack very early on, and it will continue whether or not you wish it to. Mordor will continually attack you until you either push them back or you cripple them early on. In terms of other threats, the only other threat you can face are the forces of Harad. If we scroll down here, you'll be able to see Harad. These are the lands of Harad. Their capital city is just there, Gobel and Kalimon. If Dol Amroth don't manage to hold them back, Dol Amroth are your principality of Gondor. However, I believe we took away the vassalship status, so they are just an ally of yours. We can double check that now, actually. Yes, indeed, they are just your ally. They're not your vassals. It just helps the computer when they're dealing with the two factions. So whilst it's not law, it helps the AI out a lot more. So then they don't start under your rule, but they are your allies. And if you've never played a Third Age Total War game, you'll need to know that you can't attack your ally unless you send in a diplomat first and break your allegiance. So if you don't send in a diplomat, you can never attack, and likewise they can never attack you. So you've got the defense of Dol Amroth who come from here, the city of Dol Amroth over on the peninsula there. And they will take these two regions here at the start of the game, and they give you some shelter from Harad, but Harad will overrun Dol Amroth, and they will push north through here, through the town of Ost Ithil, which is this town just here. So you'll have Harad on your southern border and Mordor on your eastern border. But then perhaps a faction you might not think you have to contend with, but unfortunately will be knocking on your door, are the clans of Enedwaith. An ancient enemy who Gondor have completely forgotten, but Enedwaith have not forgotten what you did to their lands, and they will come for you very hard. Gondor are almost always attacked by the clans of Enedwaith, coming from here, the realm of Enedwaith. This land and their clans share the same name. And they will push south, and they will definitely come through the gap there and attack you in the west. So you have three fronts that you have to contend on if you fight as Gondor. However, as I said, you are not alone in that fight. Dol Amroth, as I have already mentioned, will defend you in the south for some time, and you also have your ancient enemies upholding the oath of Eorl are the Rohirrim, who start just to the north of the White Mountains, and they start in the regions here. Now, obviously, they will be busy with Isengard for most of the game, so you can't rely on too much support, but they will block your northern approach. So if the forces of Dol Guldur from the southern reaches of Mirkwood get too big for their boots and begin pushing south and across the river, Rohan will often hold them back, so you don't have to worry about them for some time. In terms of difficulty, Gondor is quite an easy faction with the potential of being very difficult. One small little cheat/hack, I suppose, even though technically speaking it's actually just playing the game, is to summon all of your forces from your starting regions. So you've got your forces from Calenhad. You could take Bordir, leave the troops there, bring him south into the Pelennor, move your spy away so he's out of the way, bring all your generals, Calamir from Caer Andros, Denethor and some units from Minas Tirith, Hurin and some units from Western Osgiliath, Boromir and his garrison from Eastern Osgiliath, and then you can also, once you cross the river, bring the forces of Ithilien under Faramir, gather them all together and immediately attack Minas Morgul. Now, Minas Morgul will hold out for about 11 turns, or 12 turns, but if you can siege them for that time, it takes Mordor quite a long time to muster enough troops through the Black Gate to actually hold you back. And if you can take Minas Morgul early, you can really cripple Mordor, and that is a very, very fast way of ensuring your safety. But of course, that unfortunately does take one of your strongest enemies out of the game almost immediately, so it's only advisable to do that if you're playing it for the long game. You want Gondor to be the saviors of Middle-earth. If you want Gondor to just have constant fighting with Mordor as it should be, then don't do that. However, depending on your skill level, even if you do that, you may find that Mordor take it back, because perhaps your greatest threat as Gondor are the Nazgul, the Ulairi, as they are known. The Nazgul have an immortal script, which means that if you kill a Nazgul, he will respawn in Mordor some 10-15 turns later, and you'll get a little message that tells you that. And unfortunately, the Nazgul are always 9-star generals, which means in auto-resolve they will often destroy your forces. But not only that, they also have a formidable bodyguard unit. So the Nazgul should always be your primary attack target, because those 15-turn grace period where they are reshaping and reforming within the walls of Barad-dûr are the only time that you will not face Nazgul. So even if you do take Minas Morgul, the strength and the force of the Nazgul may take you out anyway. But that's highly advisable, as I say, to cripple a foe early on. I will also talk about the units that Gondor get in the second sort of part of this video. But to just talk about a few more campaign features, one of the best features of Gondor is in the city of Minas Tirith itself. The Tower of Guard is the Palantir, the Anor Stone, because Minas Tirith used to be called Minas Anor, the Sun Tower, brother to Minas Ithil, the Moon Tower. But anyway, the Anor Stone remains in Minas Tirith. We took away the ability to see areas of the map as a use of the Palantir. So no longer does the Palantir have the ability to just show up random areas of the map. Now the Palantir has a fixed set of bonuses. As you can see for Gondor, it gives you experience bonus to your troops, and it increases tradable goods. Each Palantir will give you that benefit. So if you capture Barad-dûr, you'll get the same benefit there, and if you capture Orthanc, you'll get the same benefit. And if for some strange reason you turn on the elves and you take the city here, which is at the base of Elastirion, the Tower Hills, you will get the Palantir there. But the Palantir, as I say, will always just give you that fixed bonus, and it will never change. It does change from faction to faction. So if the dwarves capture a Palantir, they get different bonuses, elves get different bonuses, orcs get different bonuses. But for Gondor, that's what you get. But it just means that Minas Tirith is quite a strong recruitment centre. So always try and train your troops out of Minas Tirith, because at the game start you can already get your spearmen and your infantry, which are post-barracks event medium tier units. So they're very, very strong. Well, they're not that strong. They're stronger than the wild men, and they're stronger than what Mordor will get before the barracks event. So you need to use them wisely. And of course, you get a unit of Fountain Guard from Minas Tirith. But unfortunately, they have a 40-turn replenishment rate until after the barracks event. So you need to use them sparingly. But if you can hold a gap with them, certainly do try, because they are very good at holding gaps. And that's what the roster of Minas Tirith looks like. Aside from the spearmen and the infantry, the 4 units that you see on the bottom here, including the cavalry, those 5 units, they are available everywhere before the barracks event, and they're your main line units. But I'll talk about the units a bit more in battle I've set up afterwards in the second part. I already mentioned briefly about strategies of Gondor, but it is worth mentioning that Dol Amroth cannot hold Harad on their own. So if you play as Gondor, you will have to support Dol Amroth as well as fighting Mordor and as well as beating back Enedwaith. Regardless of whether or not Enedwaith team up with Isengard or team up with Rohan, they will attack you. They will always attack you, and you might get the very odd and unfortunate change to diplomacy that Enedwaith may well ally with Rohan and take on Isengard and Dunland, and then attack you, and Rohan might consider Enedwaith stronger than you and break your alliance. So you do have to be cautious, because the riders and the cavalry from Rohan will really give you a run for your money, because Gondor are not very good against cavalry. You have a particular weak point against cavalry, which is why the Nazgul are such a threat. But that's all there really is to say about Gondor. You get the full construction range, so you can upgrade every city to as large as the mod allows, and you can upgrade every castle to as large as the mod allows. This Brethil is a castle there. You also have the rather unique recruitment system of the fiefdoms, and that is that several of your units can only be trained in certain regions. These units tend to always be better than a unit that they may be based on. So, for example, the Axemen of Lossarnoch are based on your medium tier sword unit. However, they are far stronger in the attack department, and they have a much better charge. So that's a general rule with the whole mod, actually, is that any unique unit is always based on a certain unit of the same level, but it's just slightly better, because they're harder to come by. But your fiefs are, you've got the Men of Lossarnoch, who come in the in the unit of Axemen, as I've shown you there, but they are a barracks event only unit. You get the Men of Lebenin, which is Fanrelond, Pelagir, and the southern regions of the Anduin, so Ostithil, Nindad Estolad, which is just there, and Baradhan, just there. All 5 of those regions will train Lebenin Guardsmen and Lebenin Marines. They are both javelin units, as again I'll talk more about the units in the second half. You also get the Blackroot Vale archers from the Blackroot Vale, predominantly coming from Kalembel and Erek. Indeed, Dwyn here, the current captain, or general of Erek, there he is, just a normal strat module for Dwyn here. Dwyn here comes with a retinue bodyguard of Blackroot Vale archers. Side note, Dwyn here sadly dies at the Battle of the Pelennor Field, so hopefully you can rewrite history and keep him and his sons alive. Although I don't think his sons are actually in this, so well, some things don't go the way you hope. And that is it for their fiefdom units, I believe. You also get a few Amrothian units if Amroth fall and you recapture their lands. You can train a few Amrothian units. Most notably, there's a unit called the Tarnostian Guard, who are a post-barracks event unit, so after the barracks event, and they come from the castle of Tarnost, which is just on the northern border of Dol Amroth's realm. They're a very strong spear unit, but you only get them in one region unless you backstab your allies, so they can be very hard to retrain, obviously. Right, and that is it. Other scripts that affect Gondor, you have no scripts yourself, so nothing interesting, unfortunately, will happen. You won't get any options, you won't get any choices, anything like that. You can obviously rebuild Western and Eastern Osgiliath, and no longer do you need to own both. I did away with that, as I thought it seemed rather peculiar a requirement. So instead, all you need to do is just get the towns upgraded. So Eastern Osgiliath needs 3,000 people, and Western Osgiliath needs 3,000 people. And once they are upgraded, you can upgrade the towns and get the famous full-walled ring circle look. It looks incredibly good on the battle map, and it looks even better on the campaign map. So if you can do that, I'd certainly recommend upgrading those. The only other real thing that affects you are the raiding script from Umbar. Umbar will continuously raid your shores. This is a scripted event, it's not just them attacking you, and every so often an army from Umbar with some ships, with some Corsair raiders, they'll only ever be their weak Corsair units, so do bear that in mind, but it does always come with a general, and the Naru en Aru bodyguard that they come with will really, really frighten your weak militia units, so do beware when the raids land. But they can attack any of your coastal towns, Anulond, Londgallen, Etheland, which is in a small town just there if you beat Dol Amroth to capturing that. They can also attack Fanrelond, Pelagir, and I think that's it. I don't think they make it to the Osgiliath. I could be mistaken, so do keep out. If you manage, or if you relatively early on, you push west and take Tharagrondos, the rebel castle in the west, they can also attack Tharagrondos. And the raids will just happen sporadically. It's on a random counter, I believe, so it could be every 5 turns or it could be one every 20 turns. I don't know. But they will attack you, so do keep on the lookout for the Umbar raids and keep your coastal towns defended. Which is another reason why Gondor is considered reasonably difficult, because you technically have 4 enemies attacking you very frequently. So it can be quite the fight to stay alive. And another small little feature about Gondor, which isn't a feature for good, unfortunately, is that because the line of the stewards has, ever since Pelindur and the sons of Hurin of Emun, I want to say Arnon, but I don't think it's Emun Arnon. Anyway, this region here is called the Hills of Ithilien, I believe, something like that. And Hurin was the first steward from there. And after him, the son or an heir of the following steward always became the steward. And then with the steward named Pelindur, it became official that a son or a blood son had to become the next steward. So to mark that, we have made Gondor with a family tree. So if all of your family are to die, you will lose the campaign. So do ensure you keep someone safe. However, adoptions come thick and fast, and Boromir and Faramir are very broody once they get wives, so you shouldn't be defeated that way, but just to note that you can be defeated that way. And that really is all there is to say about Gondor on the campaign map. Use your large lands wisely and get as much money as you can. If possible, do attack Mordor as early as you can, because that will help you in the later game. And that's really all there is to it. Defend, aid Dol Amroth so that they don't fall, and just keep a weather eye on your coastal towns and the west, because the clans of Enedwaith will burst through in an attempt at revenge. Right, Gondor predominantly are a heavy infantry faction, as we will now see as I load up the... we have to go back to the main menu. But as we will now see as I load up the game that I have saved, which is a custom battle. Oh, I can do that from here actually. Load game, wrong one. Load custom battle, Númenor. Gondor are a heavy infantry faction. So you don't really get very much cavalry. In fact, you only get 3 units of cavalry completely, and one of those is your general's bodyguard, which I haven't shown in the video because they're just a clone of the your post-barracks event cavalry unit. You get a unit of cavalry militia and a mainstream cavalry unit, and that, unfortunately, is all you get. Let's bring that one back. Get rid of... Oh no, I want that one. There we are. I'm going to get rid of that one. Right, so your 2 cavalry units are the 2 at the end here. And we'll line those up. Oh, I'm in the wrong thing, that's why. There we are. These are your cavalry units. You only get the Gondor Cavalry Militia and you get Gondor Cavalry. The Gondor Cavalry are slightly stronger. They've got reasonable stats, but they're not really very good at all. So you can't rely on your cavalry. They are shock units only or running down routing units. So as I say, you are a heavy infantry and an archer sort of faction. But we will start with your militia. So we'll line up all the units that you can get before the barracks events. And you also get them, and them. Alright, these are all the units that you get before the barracks event, but we'll put the archery units behind. Right, so we'll start at the beginning here. These are your militia units. You get standard Gondor militia. Whilst not terrible, they are still militia, so do use them sparingly. They haven't got very good morale. Their morale is only average, and their response is average, which is worrying. It means they're not very good when they get charged or when your general dies. You also get a unit of guardsmen, territorial guardsmen. They are more defensive. Essentially, this is an attacking and this is a defensive version of the same unit. They're just a spear unit and they're a sword unit. That's really all there is to them. So you want them against cavalry or holding checkpoints, and you want them to do the flanking and the charging. And then you also get a unit called Peacekeepers. These are here. These are from Taro M's mod. Do check that out if you... well, you don't really need to, actually. We've got almost all his units. But they're from Taro M's mod, and they were added as a go-between after the barracks event and before the barracks event. Perhaps the greatest thing about them is I made them faster than the average unit, so they run quite quickly, which is a nice little addition to them, because otherwise they are essentially just clones of these other units. As you can see, they have a much higher attack and charge than the militia, 6-3 versus 8-5, which makes a great deal of difference. They move a lot faster, as I've already mentioned. But they have one less defensive skill. They're not as defensive as the militia. They are more of an aggressive unit, so that's why they've been given the extra speed. You use them to run around your enemy, flank and attack. And as I say, they are called Gondor Peacekeepers. I'll spin that round, but I won't spin it too much because I make myself feel sick. They look pretty cool as well, thanks to Taro M's mod, so do get those if you can. Right, now you move on to the ranged units. Not all of these are archers, because you have got the Pelargir, oh, they're not called Pelargir anymore, they're called Lebanon. You've got Lebanon Marines, and you've got Lebanon Guardsmen. Just on the end there. There's a Lebanon Guardsman, and there are the Lebanon Marines. Now, unfortunately, they still say Pelargir Marines, and actually, it really annoys me, but it might not annoy you. But they actually call themselves Pelargir, which is incorrect. There's no R after the G. It's just Pelargir. And it annoys me no end. But anyway, that's a side note. So they are Marines. They throw javelins, and they have a sword. They are reasonable defense, again, similar to the militia, though. The only real addition to them is that they have a javelin. They are very, very good against the Great Beasts of Gorgoroth and the Mumakil of the south. They're also quite good against trolls because of their high missile damage. And the difference between them and the Lebanon Guardsmen is that, as you would expect, the Guardsmen are the defensive equivalent. So they have a worse melee attack, a worse charge. They have a slightly better missile, I believe. No, they have a worse missile as well, but they are almost twice as defensive. No, they've got 5 extra defense points. So you use your Pelargir Marines, or Lebanon Marines, I must stop saying that. Use the Lebanon Marines as your attacking javelin unit, and the Lebanon Guardsmen as your ultimate defense. And as I say, at the minute, we're still looking at all the units before the barracks event, save for those Gondor Cavalry. They are not before the barracks event. When it comes to archers, you get Archer Militia. Again, they're not very good, but you can get quite a lot of them, and a lot of arrows is better than not many arrows. So do always try and complement your army with archers, because Gondor archers are slightly better than the average and twice as good easily than the Orc archers. So you can always out-archer the Orc factions. So you get Archer Militia, and then before the barracks event, your only other 2 units of archers are both unique to certain regions. So the Blackroot Vale on the left-hand side there, I showed you on the campaign map where you can get those from. They are very good archers, especially for before the barracks event. They're similar sort of stats to the militia, certainly in the defense, as you can see, but they have a much higher attack due to the huge 2-handed swords that they use in battle. You can sort of see them on their backs. I'll spin it around. You can see them there. They have huge 2-handed swords, so after they've used their arrows, they are a heavy shock troop, which is quite good. And then, of course, you have the Athelian Rangers. These are very hard to come by before the barracks event, because you can only get 1, and then it's like a 40-turn replenishment. But they are very, very good archers. They can hide anywhere. They have very long range, quite a lot of arrows. They have good morale. They can use sharpened stakes, solid defense, and a reasonable attack. So they are very, very good units. Certainly complement your army with as many Athelians as you can, because before the barracks event is when you have the upper hand on Mordor. You have the heavy infantry from the later game, but Mordor get trolls, and trolls are always better than any infantry you can throw at them. And unfortunately, due to the mechanics of the game, trolls are not considered cavalry, they're not considered elephants, they are considered infantry. So things like pikemen and spearmen have no bonus against trolls whatsoever. So trolls can really run rampant through your army, and that's why archers are the key way of bringing them down, because trolls don't have any shields. And a unit with no shields is very susceptible to arrows, so you need archers to bring down your trolls, and that is why the javelin men are so good against trolls, because the trolls have no defense against javelins. So Lebanon Marines and Lebanon Guardsmen are your 2 troll killers, so certainly use them as you can. Right, after the barracks event, your mainstream units are the Gondor Spearmen and Swordmen. Axemen of Lysanok are unique, Osgiliath Veterans are unique. But you also get Wardens of the White Tower, those and those and those, which are your ultra elites. Obviously, we've already looked at the cavalry. So after the barracks again, the first unit you'll be able to get are these Gondor Spearmen, Gondor Archers, and Gondor Infantry. They are just strong, dependable units. They can go toe-to-toe with the Uruks of Mordor. It's not like the movies. The Uruks don't run rampant over them. They'll hold out for a very long time. And the archers have very good defensive stats, so they're good for archers. They're also better than the Blackroot Vale archers and the militia, obviously. So they're a solid archer unit with solid infantry and solid spearmen. Very dependable units. I think they have a much better morale. They have good morale with a good morale response, which is always good. The uniques at this tier level are the Osgiliath veterans and the Axemen of Lasarnoch. Axemen of Lasarnoch, as I've already stated, are very similar to the infantry and the spearmen, except they have a much higher attack and charge, and I believe they're armor piercing as well. So they are also troll killers there. Because of the armor piercing, they ignore half of the troll's armor, so they can do more damage against it. They also look incredible, and thanks to Taro M's love of making an upgrade visual for all of his units, the Axemen of the Sarnak, the spearmen, the archers, and the infantry will all have an upgraded look, as will the Osgiliath veterans. So once you upgrade all of these units in your blacksmith, because you have quite good blacksmithing as Gondor, you have a lot better than average. You can get up to level 5, the average is level 3. So if you can upgrade your units, they often have a visual change. The Osgiliath veterans are incredibly strong. You can only get them from Osgiliath, as you would expect. They have the same missile attack as your base archers. However, they have a much higher attack and a much higher defense. So they are very, very dependable. Much like the Ithilien Rangers, they are a late game dependable Ithilien Ranger, but they're available in far less regions. But if you can get hold of them, certainly do get hold of them. Unfortunately, on the battle map, you can't see the upkeep of the units. But rest assured, Gondor are an expensive faction, so you will need all those regions that you get in order to fund your economy. Right, and now we come to your very top, your uber elite line. There are 5 units that fill this tier, one of which is available everywhere. They are your Citadel Guard, and there they are there. They don't have a visual upgrade, that's just what they look like. They're a very dependable spear unit, 29 defensive armor. You're jumping from spearmen at 21 all the way up to Citadel Guard at 29. They're formidable units. They can hold any line very easily, but as I say, they're only effective against cavalry and other mounted things. Don't think that the Citadel Guard will be any good against trolls, because they won't have any advantage. They're just very good against everything else, but they're not wildly that good against trolls, so the only thing they've got going for them is their very high armor. Their attack is reasonably low for a spear unit. It's not horrendously low, but when you consider that, like, the guardsmen or the territorial guardsmen have an attack of 3, your very best spear unit only has an attack of 9, so not the best attack, but they've got a solid defense to make up for that, and they've got very, very good morale as well, so it takes a lot to break them. Next, now we come to the 4 that are only available in 1 or 2 regions max. The first are the Minas Ithil Guardians, again created by Taro M. He's pretty much created this entire roster because I like his work that much, so I took as much as I could. The Minas Ithil Guardians do just that, they guard Minas Ithil. So once you retake Minas Morgul, the name will change to Minas Ithil, which is its original name, Moon Tower, and you'll be able to train these guys. They are even better than the Citadel Guard, 2 more attack, 2 more defense overall. They are the finest spearmen that you can get your hands on. It goes without saying that if you can train them, you should train them, but they are very expensive, so do bear that in mind as well. The next comes along. In the highest barracks level, once you've rebuilt Osgiliath, you can get the guards of Osgiliath, and they are just very strong pikemen to rival the Fountain Guard themselves. They are a little more average though, because I'm fairly certain you can actually get them before you upgrade Osgiliath, so there's a chance that you can get these guys reasonably early, a lot earlier than the Fountain Guard. What they've got going over the Fountain Guard is there are more of them. They also look pretty cool. They are from 3rd Age itself, they've not been edited by Taro M. And they're just a solid defensive pike unit. But then we come to their superior, the Fountain Guard. Now the initial look that you can see here, little side note, is the look from 3rd Age Total War Vanilla, but if you upgrade them, which is possible, then they upgrade to the look that Taro M created, which is a bit more streamlined and smaller in the middle, and I think the Taro M one looks a little bit better, but these ones also look pretty badass. So the Tower Guard, again, they're a pike unit, but they're an incredible pike unit, and I really mean that. Pikes have an advantage over melee infantry because they can keep them at range, so pikemen often have a low attack to compensate that. These don't. They have a very high attack. Attack of 13 is incredibly high in terms of the stats for the whole game. So they are really, really strong, so certainly train those when you can train them. They can hold the line like you would not believe, especially with their high armor as well. So do be wary if you're coming up against armor piercing, because armor piercing will shred through these guys because they have no shield. Their stats come from their armor and their defense skill alone. So when if you attack them with armor piercing, they lose an 8 defense immediately. So they're pretty susceptible to armor piercing. So do watch out. And now we come to Gondor's elite infantry, mainline infantry, the Wardens of the White Tower. This are also, I believe, Boromir's bodyguard, possibly? No, he has Citadel Guard. He has Citadel Guard. The Wardens of the White Tower are perhaps the finest infantry that you can train. Very high attack. As you can see, attack of 11. Very high defense again. They've got very good morale with a good morale response. They are very sturdy and dependable units. They're really strong at flanks. So ideally, they're your elite flanker unit. So the Tower Guard and the Fountain Guard, will hold the line, and the Wardens of the White Tower will charge around the back and attack them from the side. And that is the entire Gondorian roster. Just to show them a little bit in battle, I have got an enemy set up, so we'll line up every infantry unit that we've got and put them on defense. Line them all up there like that. Let's bring back the two things. Pop them on defensive mode. Get every archer that we've got. Make sure they're on defense as well. Turn them off and on. Pop them in the back. You want to run through and make sure that no one's got that, because skirmishing is very annoying. And as I say, you're this is your entire roster save for the siege equipment and your general's bodyguard. So as you can see, you are very cavalry light. You really can't rely on cavalry at all, because you just don't really get any. So if the enemy comes at you with something you want to counter with cavalry, you've got to use your infantry wisely. I've got it on ×6 at the moment, so the enemy will actually attack us, because they don't like being peppered with arrows. They will always then... Side note about the AI there, yes, if you're attacking the AI, so technically they can sit and defend and wait for you to charge in, you can actually abuse that and shoot arrows at them, and often 1 or 2 barrages of arrows is enough to get their entire army to then break the defensive ranks and attack you. I use that a lot in my games, which some might consider cheating. I just think of it as a way to show the enemy that if they don't come off their hill, we're going to run them to their deaths. We're going to shoot them down. So as you can see, they're attacking. This is just a generic army from Mordor I filled up. There's their horn in the background. These are their armor-piercing heavy early guys, as the beasts are making their way around the side. The Fountain Guard would shred through the beasts if they attack them, and it looks like the enemy knows that, so they're breaking out to the side. Let's run those cavalry away, because we don't want them in. Ah, they've flanked the Fountain Guard. They know what's going on here. Oh, and look at those guys, broken through the Minas Ithil. They've broken right through and hit the archers in the back. That is never enjoyable to see. We've got our Minas Ithil Guardians are flashing hard. They're losing loads. Attacked over. Our cavalry didn't get away in time. There's a strong possibility the beasts will win this. Look, it's tilted slightly in their favour at the moment. Our entire front line is now engaged. We can scan along that and just see what that looks like. There's peacekeepers going up against orc maulers and the armor-piercing specialists of Mordor. The peacekeepers would probably lose this battle, unfortunately, because, as I say, these guys are armor-piercing. Oh, he's going to town on that guardsman. Turn all of that off again. Keep going forward. There's some Uruk halberds using the fact that they can keep us at arm's length to shred through some of our Gondor spearmen. But the Axemen of Lasarnuk are punching hard into the side of the Uruks there. When the Axemen get upgraded, they look incredible. They're one of my favourite units when they're upgraded. They just look so good. We scroll along still further and we find the Citadel Guard hard at work against the Uruk halberds there. Fairly evenly matched those two should be. Neither has an advantage against the other. Both keep the enemy at a reasonable distance. Citadel Guard should just clinch it because they are slightly more elite. Unfortunately, our Minas Ithil Guardians are getting shredded by the Great Beasts. There are already only 16 of them left. The beasts have run rampant through our ranks there. Their javelin troops still throwing javelins while they go. That is very sad to see. And there's the Guards of Osgiliath holding back some normal Uruks. They should definitely win that battle, although the defeat seems certain. That's unfortunate. They should easily win against those, but they are being flanked by the Great Beasts. And the Wardens of the White Tower, the only unit that are pushing out, they are pushing out hard. They are destroying the Uruks. Currently have only lost something like 13 men, and they've killed about 60 Uruks so far, so they're doing very, very well.
Our general lies slain upon the battlefield.
Ah, our general has died. There's no way now the Gondorians will hold on. They've been completely flanked on that far side. The Tower Guard are completely destroyed. They've been utterly decimated. There's their dead remains. Now we should probably use our cavalry to finally attempt some way of salvaging this battle. The archer militia are no match for the beast. They'll be torn to pieces. There's the Lebanon Marines. They weren't able to get any of their shots off due to they never fire if the enemy is attacking your units.
We've lost half of our men.
Oh, we've now lost half of our men. That is never a good sign. It's totally shifting. We've lost 56, they're down to 40. Oh, the Blackroot Vale archers are still shooting. Let's charge them in and get a look at their awesome two-handed swords. The front line is moving. You can hear the ground shake. Oh, they're undecided. They don't know what to do. They're going for it. They're going to throw themselves into battle, swap to their great swords, and there they are, looking insanely cool with their large two-handed swords. Slicing, hopefully slicing through the back. They've already brought down one beast. Victory will certainly be ours. We move along. The Athelian Rangers have taken out their swords and are moving in on the Uruks. Possibly not the best idea. They're much better archers than they are swordsmen. Lebanon Guardsmen. Lebanon Guardsmen are good, solid spearmen. They should be alright against those beasts. And on the other side, the Osgiliath Veterans, very strong when they take away their bows and they pull out their swords, so they're a reliable unit as well. And unfortunately, the Gondor archers have been decimated at the end there as well. There's not much more we can do. Victory is almost certainly going to be our enemies. I didn't want to control anything, didn't want to get into it too much.
They have lost half.
The enemy general has fallen. I'll turn it all off and slide away. But anyway, that is the end of this video. I hope this has given you an idea of what playing as Gondor is like, all the different pitfalls and things you can expect to face. As you can see, an army of beasts has decimated an army of Gondor, but then I haven't actually controlled it. I didn't line anyone up. No one was really used as they should have been used. But that is the first video. That's the video of Gondor. I hope this has been enjoyable. I will hopefully the plan is to do one of these for each faction, and then maybe do a few videos of me playing as my Dol Amroth game. Although I might do that because it's 170 turns in. But anyway, for now, this is the end. I'm Arakir Garlajodathan, the head of Divide and Conquer. I do hope you enjoy playing it. Come to Total War Centre and let us know how your campaigns and your battles go. And we're all there as well if you need a hand of anything. So until then, Navarre and farewell.